The little girl was playing hide and seek and crawled into a freezer. She didn't notice that the latch had already snapped shut. Lisa began searching everywhere for the child and soon fixed her attention on the freezer. Inside, the girl was still secretly delighted, thinking she'd found the perfect hiding place. Suddenly, the figure of the girl appeared in the hallway. Lisa failed to realize this was an illusion created by an evil spirit. She followed the girl into a classroom and saw her crawling under a desk. But when Lisa bent down to look, all she found was the toy the girl had left behind.
You got me!
After a long time with no one coming to find her, the girl began to panic. She tried desperately to push the freezer door open only to realize it wouldn't budge. In an instant, she broke down in tears. Just then, the blackboard behind Lisa slowly began to turn. On it appeared a horrifying image, the girl frozen to death inside the freezer. Only then did Lisa realize what had happened. She rushed to the freezer and found the child, but it was already far too late. Afterward, in an attempt to escape responsibility, Lisa threw the girl's toy into the sea.
This power that shows through in your eyes.
But in the middle of the night, she was horrified to discover that the toy had reappeared on her bedside table.
You left her!
You left me there!
Lisa trembled in fear. Using the little girl's voice, the evil spirit swore it would take everyone around Lisa from her.
There's Matthew. Finish up, boy. Oh, what the hell, Matthew? It ain't even hard yet.
As a writer, Mary went to the countryside to look for inspiration. The environment was not only beautiful, but also extremely quiet, making it perfect for writing. Because the area was very remote, Mary went jogging in the woods every day dressed lightly. What she didn't know was that several thugs secretly filmed her. These men had been single for many years, and once they learned that a beautiful woman was living there alone, they immediately developed sinister intentions. That night, while Mary was fast asleep, she suddenly heard a strange noise. She hurried outside to check, but at the door she found nothing except a dead bird. There was no other sign of anything unusual. However, when she returned to her room, she saw 3 unfamiliar men appear on her computer screen. Before Mary could even react, the intruders broke into her house. Seeing how aggressive they were, Mary thought they were there to rob her, so she quickly took out her wallet. But the men weren't interested in money. They spoke to her with filthy and degrading language while recording her reactions with a camera. After that, they began to abuse and torment Mary for a long time using various methods. Just as the long-haired man picked up a bottle of strong liquor and tried to force it into her mouth, Mary seized the moment, grabbed the bottle, and smashed it hard over his head. She then pulled out pepper spray and sprayed the attackers before running straight out the door. Terrified, Mary ran wildly through the forest until she finally encountered 2 hunters on the road. One of them turned out to be the local sheriff. After hearing what Mary had been through, the sheriff decided to take her back to capture the attackers. When they arrived at the cabin, the sheriff immediately raised his shotgun and began searching the room. Unexpectedly, he found illegal drugs on the floor. He immediately turned his suspicion toward Mary and demanded to search her body. Although Mary was extremely unwilling, she was forced to stand against the wall. The corrupt sheriff proceeded to grope her all over. At that moment, the attackers suddenly walked in from outside, and Mary finally realized that the sheriff was their accomplice.
There it is. There it is. There it is. All right. All right. Breathe through your nose. Come on, you know this. Just like it's your first time again. Breathe through your nose. Breathe through your nose. All right. All right.
After humiliating this woman, the thugs prepared to kill her to silence her forever. No one expected the woman to suddenly spread her arms and leap into the raging river in despair. The men rushed to the edge to look, unable to believe that Mary would choose to jump into the river to end her life. To prevent her from escaping, they waited on the bridge for a long time. When Mary's body failed to surface for ages, panic quickly set in among them. They hurried downstream to search for her body. If Mary escaped, they would face endless years in prison. However, after searching the water for a long time, they found no trace of Mary, which filled them with deep unease. To be safe, the sheriff crushed the videotape on the spot and ordered one man to keep searching, while the others returned to the cabin to destroy anything connected to Mary. They burned her clothes and personal belongings and even dismantled her car. A month passed, and the gang still had no sign of Mary. Just as they thought it was finally over, strange things began to happen one after another. One day, the fat man rushed to his partners in a panic, saying his video camera had disappeared. It turned out that the tape the sheriff destroyed that day was a fake, and the real one had already been secretly swapped out by the fat man. Hearing this, the buzz-cut thug exploded with rage and slammed the fat man against a tree. Meanwhile, the sheriff had just returned home from work when his wife told him someone had mailed a videotape to their house. The moment he saw it, he was terrified and completely lost his composure. Fortunately, his wife and daughter hadn't watched it yet, otherwise his crimes would have been fully exposed. Realizing things were going terribly wrong, he immediately went to the gang's hideout and demanded to know why the tape had ended up at his house. Every time the old man went to see his girlfriend, he carried a person on his back. This person had no limbs and could only be positioned at someone else's will. The girlfriend felt awkward and asked if the man needed help, saying it would be free. The old man replied that there was no need, then walked over and turned the body to one side. The man's name was Huame. He had once been an artist, but was now the old man's personal money-making tool. The old man posted a flyer on the street, opened his traveling carriage, took out a stool, lit an oil lamp, and a simple stage was set. At first, the audience stared at Huame as if he were an animal, but once the performance began, people gradually realized that Huame had a beautiful voice and captivating stories. He was knowledgeable, articulate, and deeply romantic. Everyone loved his performances. The seats were full every day. Even after the show ended, the audience remained immersed in the world he described. At moments like this, the old man would step forward and ask the crowd for tips. He made a lot of money, so he never felt shortchanged. He prepared a large bowl of meat for Huame, fed him by hand, and even helped him relieve himself. But the good times didn't last. The weather grew colder, and the audience shrank day by day. The money earned today wasn't even enough to buy a loaf of bread. Irritated, the old man forced hot porridge into Huame's mouth. The porridge was scalding and impossible to swallow. Huame could only open his mouth wide and lick snow to ease his hunger. Later on, Huame tried performing in different styles, putting in more effort and becoming more serious than ever. But today, only 3 people showed up. With no other choice, the old man packed up the stall. That was when he noticed a crowd gathered nearby. It was lively over there, so he went to take a look. In the center of the stage stood a chicken. The owner called it a math genius chicken. It could do addition and subtraction within 30.
18, take away 7. 11!
The old man suddenly understood. The lack of audience wasn't because of the cold, but because Huame's act was no longer interesting. So he spent a large sum of money to buy the chicken, along with a big bag of feed, and cared for it like his own child. Huame watched them, staring with an empty stomach. They continued their journey toward the next town. The chicken clucked noisily inside its cage. For the first time, Huame felt that the moving carriage was like a cage built just for him. Not long after, the old man stopped by a bridge. He picked up a stone and threw it into the river below. Watching the splash it made, the old man looked satisfied. Then he walked toward Huame with a smile, and the screen went black.
As soon as the man started working at the nursing home, he noticed something unsettling. The residents were clearly all elderly, yet the rooms were often filled with the voices of young girls. Since he had just landed a decent job, Max didn't want to get involved. Later, the administrator specifically warned him never to go to the 4th floor of the facility because the elderly residents there all suffered from severe mental illness. During the afternoon hydrotherapy class, one of the elderly women lit up the moment she saw Max, her expression shy and sweet, like an 18-year-old girl. Just as the two were chatting happily, an elderly man underwater suddenly began bleeding heavily from the head. The scene instantly fell into chaos. Yet the doctor insisted that everyone leave before he was willing to provide treatment. What unsettled Max even more was that an elderly resident from the 4th floor seemed to have taken an interest in him, with a hint of hostility in his eyes. Late at night, while Max was fast asleep, a masked, white-haired old man somehow entered his room. The figure slowly crawled toward his bed. Moments later, the sound of heavy breathing from behind startled Max awake. Before he could react, the figure plunged a dagger into his body. It turned out to be just another nightmare. Unable to fall back asleep, Max stepped into the hallway,